during solo queue, but those do not always transfer to what's important for a pro play.
Sure.
Very often we have extremely low win rate champions for solo queue be pick ban priority, almost even must bans for professional play.
Like LeBlanc, who's first
there
ban
you go.
once again on blue side.
We'll see what comes through. This one is also Tristana's going to be off the table. Team Dignitas seemed to think that that was going to be a more likely priority here for Cloud9. From the limited stats I had seen, actually, Kalista was a super premier pick in 7-16. Of course, we didn't, I believe, see her at all in the last game. Wasn't banned and certainly wasn't picked.
I believe Kalista was.
Oh, was banned. Sorry, was banned by Cloud9. I take that back. So that one still has seen some level of high priority. Team Dignitas respecting Jarvan as well.
Yeah, Kalista, Tristana are two champions that people often trade between. And I was trying to kind of figure out why teams are starting to pick red side. We did see SKT doing it during one of their choices in their series against KT, and we've seen it happen 2 times here. And whenever you look at the pick ban system, I think that red side should be inherently advantaged. You get the first counter pick on the 3rd pick, you get the first pick of the 2nd phase, and you get the last pick of the entire draft. But what usually happens is there's a really OP champ that you're then forced to ban on red side, and you can't first pick it. So when there's also roles like Kalista, Tristana, I actually expect them to be traded. You would leave both up, and then you just take whichever one the other team takes, and then you get an extra thing, which is why I'm perplexed now by Team Dignitas banning Trist before any Kalista ban, giving Kalista away, unless Altec has something he thinks he can beat that with.
Or they think Kalista's not the best champion. They think, like the last game, they can get some unkillable tanks, hold the front line, and hope that Kalista can't push through them. It's a possibility. They might get themselves Twitch here as an early pick. Certainly the value on that champion high as well, as they're going to pick some very similar champions to the last game.
Ooh, man, I feel like Cloud9 is getting away with murder here, though. They get the Kalista and Gragas with the Tristana and Jarvan ban. Those are the counterparts, basically. You're talking about, trading of power here. These are very high priority champions for Cloud9. Yes, they did have to give up the Maokai again, and Ssumday had a very good frontline performance on it. And yes, it is paired with a powerhouse late game of Twitch, but I feel like Cloud9 are getting exactly what they want in this draft.
Yeah, and another early pick, Cassiopeia. This was going to be a big question for me, whether they would lock in their bottom lane here to create one of the awesome Kalista combos, whether with Alistar or with Thresh, or if they just have that big a priority on having Jensen on Cassio and not Keane. And it looks like it's the latter with another Cassiopeia pick.
Also here with Team Dignitas having to answer their mid laner, the Cassiopeia kind of forces that. You don't want to have to go below the Syndra tier now with all the extra nerfs in mid lane. The jungle is open for bans. Team Dignitas, yeah, they could have Maokai in the jungle, but you could also, pinch that even further. Maybe first game, though, was set up, and they're like, oh, Ssumday plays at top lane, and then trying to bait the flexible Maokai down to jungle for game number 2. Who knows? The deep mind games here of pick ban.
You still got the Shen, the Renekton, even the Fiora got some buffs again in this patch, so I think a lot is still available for that top lane based on what he's going to be into. Team Dignitas have counter pick at the end, and I feel like Ssumday's a great person to give last pick to, and you're seeing Cloud9 wising up to this. Renekton going to be off the table. Since Nar's such a great matchup in Renekton, you ban that one, well, we'll ban the thing it's supposed to counter. Shen off the table for Team Dignitas.
And with all of these top lane bans on both sides, both teams are still heavily respecting the Maokai as a flex pick. I do want to say that I like Keane's Syndra. I thought he had an unheralded performance last game. So many very clutch stuns in those team fights. They played that matchup just fine. So I think Team Dignitas is relatively comfortable with that matchup as well, as the final ban is Blitz.
All right, not going to be allowed this time around for Adrian. Does that mean higher priority on Thresh possibly? As that's what he had picked up last time, and they won with it. So see what comes through.
Kalista Thresh as well, which is one of the most fearsome combos.
Nunu gonna be grabbed up for Shrimp. Maokai gonna go back to the top lane after all, and
man,
he's gonna play this one out.
While Nunu was successful for Team Dignitas in the regular split, and while Shrimp was one of the first ones to jump on it, and we do associate that with St. Vicious and with him being one of the main coaches for the team, there were very significant nerfs to Nunu and Nunu's itemization as well in the last couple of patches. So it's definitely in a weakened state, but you can still count on Blood Boil, that was not touched, and they have a Twitch. So there is a huge, tremendous amount of late game power that is available in that combination. Definitely going to be a little bit more risky for the Nunu just as surviving by himself, though, because a lot of the nerfs were towards his own defenses.
And that makes it much harder for him to do Nunu things in the early game. If he gets to the late game, he is mostly the same type of peeling champion. And I find it so interesting that they locked this in so they can get the counter pick on the support lane.
Right.
When you're thinking it's going to be Thresh from the beginning.
It displays your top lane matchup as well, and they actually get off the Cho'Gath into a Trundle into the Maokai matchup.
Yeah, speaking of counter picks here, Trundle into the tanks. He's got 2 options to ultimate here. Either the Nunu or Maokai will be a good source of stats for him once they get to those big team fights. But regardless, in the 1 versus 1, Trundle is king.
Definitely is. The Troll King and Alistar going to be picked up as well, the last of his kind. Not too unsimilar to Trundle overall, but Adrian getting another tank, so triple gigantic frontline, 3 of the healthiest champions in League of Legends behind Syndra, Twitch. Cloud hoping that the Kalista Thresh duo, I mean, very, very strong duo to be clear. Jensen back in the Cassiopeia, but Impact again on a matchup he's supposed to outscale the 1v1 in and bash his head of it.
And let's actually compare these drafts with the stories we saw in the last game. Impact won lane against Ssumday by a huge amount of CS. I believe at the end of the game it was even 80 CS, but Ssumday was constantly able to teleport in and force team fights because C9 didn't have great disengage. This time C9 has much better disengage. Thresh, Kalista save each other, Gragas disengages for the team, and if Trundle is even there, the pillar acts great in that regard as well.
Yeah, Ssumday was very impressive in his navigation of the team fights last game. It's going to be more difficult this time around, but we'll see if he's up to the challenge.
See if they can do this one. Coaches shake hands for the second time. So you can see the lineups on your screen one more time here in game 2 of this best of 5. The question is, can Team Dignitas hold on to the series? They've been unable to do so in this split when facing Cloud9. Or is it still falling down? Most people predicted Cloud9 were the better team on the day. So far, Team Dignitas looked a bit better. This time around, they do not have that same insane Caitlyn laning phase, and they might not have that Jarvan double kill for Shrimp. We'll see if Dignitas can have that early game yet again, if they can keep the snowball going against Cloud9 with Nunu this time around.
Yeah, it is difficult to play Nunu without winning lanes or without shoving lanes, so I'm really curious how the early lanes will play out. Kalista Thresh can end up being dominant. Cassiopeia can shove in Syndra. That's a skill matchup in that mid lane, and the Trundle Maokai, at least early on, the Trundle's not tanky enough to be able to do those 2v1s. So it's a little difficult for him to shove safely.
It is a low damage duo, though. Nunu Maokai has a lot of meaty paws hitting you and hoping it does enough. I mean,
in any of the duos, I feel like Contractz is going to have the advantage if junglers are even. Ssumday going to get a little vision here on Impact as he goes pretty deep.
Yeah. Very aggressive warding attempt. Of course, that's going to be matched pretty easily by Cloud9. Their squad's grouped up as well. Impact just kind of knows where they are, and no one can start hard crowd control without really gimping their laning phase or their jungle pathing, so gets to attack the ward. Doesn't kill it, though, but at least they know where the deep ward is.
Both sides with the vision on the blue quadrants. That is definitely a very good start for Nunu. Obviously, counter-jungling oriented champion. Shrimp going to start on this blue, it looks like, with a little bit of sapling help.
Yeah, and I think Impact's going to check again. He's been pretty fearless with this early game, so he's probably going to walk by when going toward his lane, and that will at least trigger where Contractz knows the enemy jungler is. He sees him.
That's a bramble smash from Ssumday, actually. They didn't even start with the saplings. Impact changes.
Push him off from the head. Grass pitting as well. He can't kill him, but he can do plenty of damage. Disengaged by Ssumday, and look at that. Stops the first camp of Shrimp.
Also,
it's damage well.
Trundle does not care about early losses of health like that into a Maokai lane. One of the reasons you pick him into this lane is because he can absolutely bully it and shred this Maokai. So Impact, again, seemingly going to have another good game for himself in the 1 versus 1, but it was really about the team game where Team Dignitas were able to pull ahead.
Yeah, but I do love the Trundle pick here. I still think it's a little unsafe to push up early, much safer now that they push Nunu out, because once he does get to that later game Trundle with the Hydra, the jungle top lane of Maokai Nunu can't even hope to kill a Trundle in a 2v1 situation. His split pushing is going to be really immense.
Even has the magic damage synergy. He gets to buy MR and ignore both of them. There's so many good things here for Impact in this matchup. We'll see if it can pay forward. Was unable to translate his 1v1 into team fights last game, but
won't need to
here. Yeah, he might never team fight, but still comes down to the shot calling. We'll see what happened in this one. Small gold lead for Cloud9 in the early game. Their duo looking good as well with the Kalista Thresh.
Yeah, the Kalista Thresh, you know, is a pushing lane. They got the advantage in the lane and then transition it into the jungle. Smoothie gets up with the roam, buys some time for him to gain control of the river. He's got deep wards on Shrimp. They have full knowledge of this Nunu's location. Definitely a lot of control early on for the Cloud9 squad.
Little combo there, but Adrian going to lose a lot of health if the Ren comes through and he's at half HP. Worth noting the styles the players the mid laners trade blows real quick. Adrian's gone for coin both games so far, and Smoothie's gone relic shield both times. Even on the same champion that Adrian went coin on, so clearly different priorities for these players and starting items. Yeah,
Smoothie is oftentimes the main playmaker for C9. I can see why he'd want that little bit of extra durability early, but Adrian kind of always ahead of the game on trend, will utilize that gold later.
But what if, especially if you're talking about playmaking, the upgrade for his coin with the extra speed was actually instrumental in a lot of his engages. So even that route offers quite a bit of utility as well.
Yep. Well, we'll see if he wants the new speed or the shielding or what, but so far it's just the choice he's gone for, and we'll see as it payouts later on. Maybe he goes Righteous Glory, who knows. 300 gold lead still the mark here for Cloud9 as Jensen wants to bully in Keane.
And remember, this is a Nunu, right? Nunu versus Cassiopeia is horrendous. Running at him does very, very little. You're just basically a damage soak, so it depends almost entirely on your laner if you're going to even try anything. So Jensen's playing extremely aggressively. He can push up into the lane. They have vision on the top side, bottom side lantern.
But it's a 3v3, body slam on a 2, buys a bit of time. Adrian comes in with a gigantic shield ignited on the backline. Is sneaky forced to kite back. He's been stunned though. Do they have the damage to flash to chase? They want the kill. The poison not quite going to be enough though. And the re-engage comes across to Adrian. The squishy Alistar in the coin. He falls. First blood coming through to Smoothie. Now they got to kite back though. Be careful because Contaminate not far away from being back up. Damage to Smoothie. But Cena gets away with first blood.
What an interesting fight right there, because it was a called gank by Team Dignitas. Shrimp was actually waiting just behind the turret for a good 15 seconds before that gank came in. So once they see the Gragas come in, it's almost like Team Dignitas got overzealous, saying, yeah, we called this counter gank. Let's destroy them right now. But they were still weaker in the 3v3, so they fully commit, don't get the last hit on a sneaky, and then end up giving up first blood to the Thresh.
Definitely was incredibly close. All summoners blown for the bottom lane. Shrimp does get to slink over here to the Infernal Drake, so even though Team Dignitas lose out on the first blood cache, the scaling here with this buff from the Infernal Drake is going to go a long way.
Nice for him to use his first smite early. Second smite is up right now. He might just save it and use Consume instead, and yes, a sub 6-minute Infernal Drake, and Shrimp is dancing. Doing the running man, getting back to the base because they got an early Infernal.
Now we have to worry about some vision around bottom lane. All 8 summoners in the bottom lane have been blown, and there are definitely playmakers here. Alistar, Thresh can pull trigger at any time. This is the Lantern in. They bring Contractz. He goes immediately for the body slam as Adrian engages onto Sneaky. But Sneaky knows there's so much burn damage on him. Since this is an Ignite Alistar and Twitch and Poison already stacked up, he immediately tries to get out of there. Does so successfully, and the counter kill goes over for Cloud9.
Yeah, Altec also getting caught up in the flay and the body slam from Contractz slowed down their ability to turn that one around onto Sneaky. Really slim margins in that fight. But C9 did have the advantage going in, so even with the counter gank being called, big push for C9.
Look at Impact, knowing his limits pretty well. He's got that turret down about 2/3 so far, plus his 5-minion lead. In addition to the fact that he countered jungled Shrimp at level 1, kind of. Stopped a counter jungle, but still kind of counts. And Impact yet again off to a pretty good start, at least into this game. Not getting double killed like the first.
I like it. He literally countered the jungle.
Yeah,
so
he counter jungled. I mean, that's probably honest at least.
Very accurate. Behind here, once again, though, Shrimp coming through the bottom lane. As you said, you know, all the summoners are down here, so you really have to watch out for the playmaking from either of these supports. These are the two, some of the 2 best supports in the league
for starting things off. Totally agree. We saw Rakan hover in the first champ select as well. Certainly a lot of playmakers available. One of the fun things about this split.
Oh, mid lane though.
He's got Flash. He just goes for the ulti instead, and now he's grounded. Keane has no way out. Literally nothing he could have done afterwards. Absolutely beautiful.
That combo of the miasma from Jensen immediately on the location Keane lands doesn't allow him to use any summoners, and a clean kill here for Cloud9.
Yeah, that lane was already trending towards Jensen. It's definitely in his favor now. The only thing you would hope is that, you know, Keane still has both summoners.
Oh, he's got
Flash
spite.
the ulti. That's the second straight camp trip's taken away from Contractz in his own jungle now with the red buff on. Contractz low on mana.
Wants to kill him.
He's asking for help.
Looking for the body slam. Oh, the flash to chase with the ulti across. Absolute Zero is just his health bar. As down he goes, the ice blast to the face, and Shrimp slaps him with the paws.
Try and counter jungle. Nunu gets clapped up there. He actually pinged for help, and Jensen was in the mid lane, stops his recall, farms another wave. It's like, you can just get out of that, right? Maybe they communicated, hey, I'm going to flash or whatever, but seems like a pretty rough way to repay this gank.
Ooh, I think he could have flashed right there before the miasma. I think there was a small window.
Had to be spamming it.
Yeah. Oh, unlucky. Didn't think he was going to die. Didn't flash the ulti from Gragas either, just the way the chips fell. And Keane does fall. 2-1 in this game. 1,300 gold lead to Cloud9.
Jensen has been notorious for, staying in the mid lane and
Yeah.
focusing very heavily on that, at least for the early game. But
KDA player.
it may have been a communication, hey, I can just get over this wall, it's no problem. And he wasn't accounting for the Maokai roots, but regardless, easy flash over there for Shrimp. Perma slows with snowballs and red buff. Able to pick up that kill, plus defended his own jungle.
Dignitas moving their lanes around pretty early on. Looks like Altec does not want to keep fighting sneaky in a level 6 Kalista world, looking for the camouflage for the gank on the top lane, but Impact already long gone.
Yeah, trying to make something happen and disrupt that bottom lane. There was so much kill pressure from Kalista Thresh once they are level 6, which they are now. They're kind of just abandoning ship and then going into a turret race. Since they're going to lose the 2v2 anyway, they're trying to do a turret trade, and because they swap first, there's even a chance they get the first turret. It's just a matter of who can win the race.
It's a 4v2. This race seems pretty good for Team Dignitas right now.
They also have a red buff and blood boil on their side, so even though they have a little bit of a lead there initially for Cloud9, the extra members get the money.
And that's a very good play. I think it's a very underrated shot call. You never see it in solo queue, for example, but really, really smart, saying, all right, they've power spec'd above us. Let's make this play happen. And make sure we 4v0 the lane as well. Keep them there, bring Shrimp over, smart stuff.
Well, especially because they have all lanes losing.
Yeah.
So the fact that they were able to get first turret is totally a macro move, but now, since they did recall, C9's on the hunt to get a second one.
And a full turret in itself is worth more than first turret gold. So, ta-da, as you mentioned, 2,000 gold lead Cloud9, stay with the play. They brought in 4, they kept the play going, and they even get a blue buff steal out of it.
Not to mention, this is the side of the map furthest away from Baron where they want to have the biggest, split pushing presence from Impact. So, extra turrets down here could mean something fairly significant. Mid lane, maybe again. Kalista ult early.
Keane, nice knockback. Yep. Knew the distance, knew the timing, gets the knockback, and I don't think it was possible for Smoothie to flash play there.
Yeah, that was awesome by Keane.
Absolutely correct.
Saves his summoner spells this time. See why he's got that confidence in himself to disengage?
Yeah.
The story of Keane this split has really been one of building confidence. This guy has quietly on Team Dignitas been putting in so much work. A lot of their success, we talk a lot about the bottom lane coming in and the changes that were made, but Keane has been playing a very good split. Securing so many of the Barons for the team with a lot of the Cassiopeia play, and doing a very good late game carry for them.
Yeah, when Keane has good games, it feels like they almost always win because they have so much foundational work done on Team Dignitas that when Keane's on against the other mid laner and has, strong late game team fights, it's huge. Not to mention the CS post 15-minute percentage we're talking about earlier of how teams distribute the resources. Keane's the second lowest in the league amongst mid laners, so he has to do that with less.
And we'll see if they can do this in the top lane there. Ulti pop by Adrian, going to buy some time. He's going to take several hundred health of damage before he would fall, and it's going to be an ulti down, but not the worst thing in the world.
That's all 5 members for Cloud9 up to the top side of the map, though. They want to keep up this pressure and continue to push on the turret. It's extremely low, so Team Dignitas should probably abandon it.
Yeah, and Rift Herald not where Team Dignitas would want it to be. It's on Shrimp right now. At this point, you'd love to be able to put it in an empty lane to rush down a turret. C9 looking to have their cake and eat it too as well. Watch Impact teleporting down bottom to try and save that turret.
I think it's going to happen here in this one. Shows up into the bot lane. The, under half HP, but keeps it alive. Jensen got back to mid and caught the wave, I believe, so he's keeping that plus 21 CS mark for himself. And yeah, that cake right now, pretty tasty for Cloud9. Get to look at it and enjoy the chocolate. That's what, by the way, have your cake and eat it too means, is have your cake to look at, because cakes tend to be pretty, and then also eat it.
That's almost every cake, though. It makes the saying kind of pointless.
Well, I mean, now Instagram exists, so like people have pictures of their cake everywhere, but, you know, this was from before the internet, so pictures were expensive back then. Back in my day, we had analog photos. That's my old band voice. I'm not good at it. Polaroids. Yeah, those still exist.
Kobe's out of words to
Kobe's
say.
not.
Kobe, they're taking Cloud Drake.
Yeah, Cloud Drake!
I'm curious where you guys are going with your little Polaroid.
My dad's first digital camera used floppy disks. We kept a bunch of old floppy disks around to store photos. You had like 10 photos per floppy. You know, put them back in your computer.
This is good. We should continue talking about this.
Let's move on. We've got an important game going on. So, Cloud and Inferno, the two Drakes this game, split across the teams. Still that 2,500 gold lead. Cloud9, of course, with the better early game. 3-1 in turrets. I mean, as much as they complimented that dig lane swap at the very beginning at 6 minutes, C9 have made it a 3-for-0 run since then.
Yeah, their response to that lane swap was pretty much perfect. They called the Team Dignitas recalls. They continued to push. They knew they were stronger in a 4v4 as well, so a collapse wouldn't work for them. The respawn of the Drake worked great to teleport down bottom, and pretty much everything they did after that point has beaten Team Dignitas in the macro game.
And part of the reason I kept talking to Champ Select about loving this composition for Cloud9 is because it has so many options. It's just extremely versatile. Remao on the bottom side, though. Team Dignitas are striking back. You know, red buff boil, blood boil for themselves as well. Going to rush down bottom side, but Cloud9 are already pressuring top and mid, so it's going to be another race. Riptail joins the race.
Going to make it a 6v5 in the overall scoreline of the map. But look at this, mid lane outer going to fall. C9 putting the members across, and this is such a faster-paced game it feels like in the previous. Its team's going for big plays. Bot lane 2-2 certainly going to fall. It'll be 3-4 in turrets. Getting kind of a 2v1 as a result of 2-for-1, I should say, as a result of all these. We'll see what comes in next as the Hail's going to charge one more time. No one's here to stop it.
Can they actually utilize this effectively, though? I mean, you would want to. Riptail draws impact down bottom side. They know his teleport was used previously, so you would theoretically want to actually get something positive out of that use, which would be a collapse onto the 4 members while impact could not join. However, there's zero pressure. There's zero ways of reliable engagement here, and it's just. It's not going to come together for Team Dignitas. Yeah, they got one turret that they were probably going to get anyways with the Rift Herald, and even though the Rift Herald makes it look cool and you do it a bit quicker, they don't really gain a lot of territory out of that use.
Yeah, and this is that scaling conversation we end up having when teams are behind. Like, Team Dignitas doesn't even really have the tools they want yet. They don't have the Righteous Glory onto Maokai. They don't have the Knight's Vow onto Nunu. So there's two different ways to kind of to scale. Some teams sit behind the turrets, try and make no plays, and just let the other team kind of slowly bleed them out and hope they make a mistake in some way to do that. What Team Dignitas is doing to try and scale, so to speak, is accelerate the game via turret trades. And that's going to get them to their items faster and leave less time for C9 to have an opportunity to kind of perfectly execute a closeout game. I think it's actually working pretty well, but as you say, Kobe, they still don't actually have many options because they're losing every matchup.
Well, right now the game is only 2,000 apart, not too far from what C9 had for themselves in the previous game, and they won a team fight down 10k. So options can be there in the late game, and you still got a Blood Boil Twitch. Knight's Vow is now done. Hurricane's in there as well. Hardened Sensor's somewhat unlikely for a while, but maybe Shrimp buys it later on once he's got that Ice Blast put onto people.
Yeah. I also want to point out, because we've been having a lot of conversations about CS and where CS goes, at what points in the game. Jensen is continually increasing his CS leads and increasing his pressure. It's not always just teams deciding, okay, we're going to put money onto a mid laner, or we're going to put money onto AD carry, or we're going to put money onto the split pusher. Jensen does so much of earning his own money and earning his own CS through this dominating lane phase and the protection that his team provides and vision around him to allow him to play so aggressively that this Cassiopeia is an absolute monster for Cloud9 and continuing to scale as well.
Yeah, I always like to say gold is earned, not given, but you can still put preferences into who you would like to try.
Oh, ooh, and the hook is still going to land post-flash. So Ssumday, I think he didn't realize that no one else was around Smoothie. So a summoner down, but the damage not going to be much. Contractz shows him with the body slam as well, and no major fouls here, no harm done.
Meanwhile, who's going to be answering impact from this point on? He's only one item, but this is a Trundle with ridiculous life sustain due to the Ravenous Hydra completed, due to the Frozen Tundra ground, and as we said, those turrets in bottom side were taken so early, he can push the lane all the way up to inhibitor turrets. Before Baron is even spawned, they have pressure around Baron, and they can start to get that vision control. And
3 patches ago, Trundle was buffed to allow his chomp to affect turrets. He kills turrets so quickly. In game 1, when Ssumday would teleport away to start a team fight, Gnar can kill turrets, but nowhere near as fast as Trundle can.
And I really like the evolution of the matchup, even specifically versus Maokai, where Maokai does buy an early Bramble back to be able to, kind of protect himself from Trundle attacking him, but Trundle evolves to just attack the turret and ignore Maokai while he's under the turret.
Yeah.
And then just go heal up right back off the minion waves. He never even has to attack the actual Maokai, and you'll get that objective that you're talking about.
No things to watch for then right now. 2,000 gold staying the mark between these two squads. Drake coming up in 35 seconds, and Cloud9 you'd think would be the team with the map control to do so. Their teleport's already topside to enable that play. And you're going to see Ssumday match that. This is very, very standard shot calling, but we'll see. There can always be the chance to switch it up and say, well, you can take the Drake, we'll 5-man top or something like this. Ssumday trying to wave clear, because he's keeping the wave away from the turret.
Yeah, you don't even want to let the Trundle be able to get close, stop the minions from tanking turret, to try and deny some of those face tank chomps.
Shrimp getting another camp in the face of Contractz, not allowing that at all. And yeah, if Ssumday's tanky enough, right, if he's able to sustain somewhat well, you can see he just, again, pushes the wave, never lets him get any autos. And in fact, the ult coming across because they are coming top lane. Dignitas want this to be a 3v1. A flash get away from the headbutt, but still the Ice Blast is in, and now there's no much more way out. Absolute Zero going to knock a lot of health off, but an impact certainly is not long for the world. It is a trade of 1 kill, and the chase and a Jensen. Gets away, though, just barely gets a lantern as well. Infernal Drake for the kill top lane.
Ooh, pretty decent. A little bit of a trade there. Now, Phreak, correct me if I'm wrong. When Twitch activates ultimate, the auto attacks turn into line.
Yeah, you can dodge them.
So you can flash them again like the days of old.
Yeah, you can flash them and you can run fast with Storm Raiders.
Yeah, exactly. So like,
that's what kept Jensen alive right there.
Throw
last Twitch auto attack did not hit.
Exactly. It's like traveling back 5 years when you can actually pop projectiles.
Oh, that for like 3 patches when flash, pop projectiles. I didn't know what you were talking about initially, but
anyways, yeah, he's able to flash the last one there and escape with his life. He was trying to get the kill first. Maybe one more Twin Fang would have enabled him to do so.
Yeah, but Keane had sums up. Like, he felt safe the entire time, apparently. Keane, though, losing flash and heal to Altec's flash. And again, Infernal Break for a kill, and it's a play that Dignitas chose to go for. They went for that 1-for-1 in a certain way, but look for a fight in the top side. They want Adrian. He's going to flash the double knockup, though. Here comes the rest of the team, and the TPs are in as well. Petrifying Gaze is going to find one, and they will kill off Adrian. The Alistar is dead, and it's slow on to Shrimp. The pillar there, the body slam on a 2. No ulti available yet for Contractz. It's down. It was used earlier on to that fight. Disengages. Dignitas lose 1.
And it depends how much control C9 wants to try and take here. It's 20 minutes with a Kalista and a Cassiopeia. Their Baron damage is huge as well as their Baron secure, so that's always a risk. The vision in this river is going to be paramount. Getting that kill allows them to set up a lot more control.
Yeah, the main problem here for Cloud9 is that they are facing a team with the Nunu on it, who also has flash. So it's always so risky unless you've been able to take a giant amount of control to go for one of those plays when you know that you already have the advantage of the game. And Dignitas could actually start it out themselves.
No one else around. Box actually doesn't quite land. That slow could have helped a lot, but Sneaky's coming around now. How about the Baron rush down at half HP?
Rush it.
Nature's Grasp only going to find the support, but where is these Contractz? He does not have Smite, though. But the damage coming out, they get the kill in us through the absolute Zero. Chop Smite should secure it, and so they got the pick up there, Team Dignitas, and Contractz good look for the front line, gets the body slam across, the unleashed powers, the trade kills. Gragas falls, but so does the Twitch. 3 alive for Team Dignitas to chase in towards Ssumday. Sneaky wants the damage. Someone heal buys a bit more distance. The health coming back as well. Goes for the root. Looks for the re-engage with Keane. Letting this down and knocking down Sneaky. And in fact, can't get chased down Ssumday. He's looking for the play. As Jensen can't find his target just yet either. Ssumday's still on the run. Can jump to a minion, can heal back up, and he might just be fine with this one.
Are you kidding me?
And it ends up being 2 kills for 2 at the end of the day, I think, as Ssumday still wants to kite, but Jensen's here. He should maybe have the damage. Yes, he does. Finally get another kill. But Dignitas get that Baron, and the gold tied.
And they even got kills for themselves, so that was 2 kills over to Team Dignitas in addition to the Baron. Honestly, an incredible play there from Team Dignitas to take advantage of Cloud9's recalls there and not expecting this counterplay around Baron. They have Trundle all the way in the bottom side with no teleport.
And that's the big thing that triggered it. They know they have the Nunu to the Baron secure, and they're hoping C9 falters in slowly, and Keane isn't even there to help with the Baron, so he and Adrian are completely zoning out. Jensen can't make it in. They can kill Smoothie from the outside, and then Shrimp actually just consumes from 783, which was almost in Smite Rage. Contractz didn't even have Smite up. And the fight afterwards ends up actually being okay. So many times when you're forcing Baron like that, it's Baron for an ace or a total disaster, but they return enough damage as C9 falters in. Just
such a bold call here from Team Dignitas, and they're able to reap the rewards. That is extremely impressive, especially here in game number 2, where they're really looking to snowball it and you know, keep this from going the same way as the regular season matches.
Looking good so far. They've tied the game up. They've got the Baron buff to work with for a few more minutes. And they've got the 2-item power spike Twitch with the Blood Boil. This is in a very good spot right now for Team Dignitas, looking at mid lane outer.
Yeah, this is a powerful push. I mean, now with Baron, they can actually force before the Trundle gets split. This is the situation they want to be in.
Infinity Edge Runon for the Twitch at only 24 minutes into the game. It's such an incredibly early power spike when you consider there is also a Blood Boil and a Locket on him. All eyes are on Altec here, and that kind of opens up stun paths for Keane.
Got that Knight's Vow from the Nunu, looking for the hook into the front line. It's going to be hard to kill Ssumday. They're going to try for this one. The shields come back in. Going to buy a lot of time, and the back line gets popped. There's 3 for 1 already, and now what can Jensen do? It's going to be nothing. Unleash power unleashes the pain on a Cloud9. A 4 for 1 only Ssumday falls.
You cannot group up like that against this Twitch from Altec. They go on the Maokai. It takes too long to do damage to him, and the Syndra plus Twitch shreds C9.
Giant front line there, soaks the damage. They tank the turrets. Multiple turrets down. Inhibitor going to be down, and this is a very commanding push from Team Dignitas.
And they're going to back off after the inhibitor falls, but that is huge. Absolutely 5,000 gold, and a convincing one at that. And this time around, it's not C9 with the late game. Twitch is not going to slow down anytime soon from here. Dig may very well be after a 2-0 start.
And they're playing with so much confidence. You play out that Baron scenario to get this beforehand. It could have been a Baron throw if you're thinking about it the wrong way. And here they get hooked. They say, we're not going to leave him die. We're all going in. Look at this just insane amount of damage that comes out.
That was even a great Nunu addition to the damage there with the Shrimp's absolute zero getting off.
It was a 3-man pulverize from the Alistar. I mean, everything was just there on absolutely everybody. Certainly C9 2 grouped up, and against Baron. Like, maybe you just give out or give away the outer turret, but it wasn't the play that was had. But Cloud quickly picked up for Team Dignitas with no issues. A 6,000 Baron power play. That is one of the larger ones you see.
Man, such a long way we've come here with Team Dignitas. They're making such an impressive push at the end of the split. And this is a really strong showing at the beginning of playoffs where people, honestly, a lot of people expected them to start faltering in the higher pressure scenarios. But just the boldness of that call, you know, teams get flamed for a lot less than starting up a 4v5 to even just seeing the split pusher on the bottom side with no teleport. And they're able to really cleanly pull that one off and then take advantage afterwards so quickly.
Yep. Looking so good right now, Team Dignitas have been able to play very much forward. Even with Shrimp, it's so funny, this is the second game in a row Shrimp has had a very bad start to the game. In game 1, he loses flash before minion spawn, and then is actually late to his red buff. In game 2, he gets counter jungled, is 40 seconds late to his buff with 300 health missing. And he's like, well, I'm still unkilled, 100% KP, and yeah, I'm helping our Twitch carry. So Shrimp is doing so well off of getting set back in every level 1 so far this series.
Yeah, and the story of Impact being ahead of Ssumday in lane is true as well. And here we think that C9 actually has more tools this time to disengage the fights of Team Dignitas or get Impact in situations where he can win, but they're just finding all these really creative ways of forcing the 5v5, bold ways of forcing 5v5s, and they're getting work done.
Yeah, and everyone dies in 3 seconds. I mean, Adrian lands a 3-man pulverize. You die to spray and pray during those 3 seconds of the, you know, the scatter the weak stun coming in afterwards. Certainly, Digger playing well in this.
All that being said, this is not as bad as last game for Cloud9. As I said before, they do have some versatility, some options for themselves. With Impact being able to split push on this Trundle, he does have his teleport available at the moment, and they do have some reliability, to focus on here, play around Jensen with the rest of the 4-man squad. It's just been difficult for them to deal with all that crowd control you guys talk about from Team Dignitas rushing to the backline.
Yeah, and if C9 team fights, they need to have better spacing. They can't have Sneaky and Jensen both getting caught in spray and pray, because that massive front line that Team Dignitas has can be shredded. A Trundle ultimate onto the Maokai with Jensen in the right position to get off full spell rotations will be able to kill anyone in a fairly quick time.
I actually might look at Contractz as far as the Gragas ultimate being a very good tool for separating the 5-on-5 comp that Team Dignitas are setting up, because that is long range and you can disrupt the Twitch's positioning. If even for just a moment and delaying a couple of the auto attacks, buying some time for your carries to gain that advantage, or the dream ultimates, of course of knocking Twitch in, but those are a bit more difficult to pull off.
But you're absolutely right. In that previous team fight, Explosive Cast did not touch Altec. He was still stealth, opened in after the Explosive Cast, and killed everyone in 3 auto attacks. I definitely agree. Disengaging a Twitch during a spray and pray could be important. Watch for the Contractz ultimate when Adrian goes in. See if it can happen here. Jensen knocking down the minions, getting the farm.
And Baron is up with the Trundle in the side lane. This time he has teleport up to match, but this means Dignitas is going to make another bold call. Baron has begun.
Has to execute well, because the Luther inhibitor, if they delay for too long, TP's coming in
Altec
early.
looking to open on the side here. He's flanking, looking for Jensen.
What can they find? It's all of C9 grouped up here. Baron still being tanked up by the tanks.
Yeah, without Altec on the actual Baron, though, it goes down much slower.
All right, the hook in him. Maokai doesn't need much of the flash. They're going to find Jensen. There's a knockup as well. And they're going to shut down the Cassiopeia. Does Sneaky have the damage? It's unlikely. The chase for Altec, exhausted by some time. Sneaky still cutting away. He's pulled into support. Doesn't matter. Altec falls as well. Sorry, I should say Impact falls as well. 2 for 0. And the Baron started again.
And with Jensen down at the start of the fight, it allows Altec to be fearless. He flashed forward and pushed the rest of C9 off that Baron.
And look at that, Altec on the chase. He is still fearless. He will easily 1v1 Contractz. The attacks coming through. Smite for health. Baron goes down, not a problem at all. And the red buff still continuing on to this one. The body slam. This gets a bit closer. And he gets it. That's hilarious. Contractz gets his red buff back. He's dead. I mean, he is so dead right now. He's in a 1v4, but at least that looks cool.
This is the victory lap, Phreak.
This is the victory lap. You die at the end of it.
Yeah, that's an odd twist, actually, to the victory lap. Gotta take the small wins, though, because Team Dignitas commanding control of this game. And then again, Ssumday, instant initiation onto the Cassiopeia here. Jensen's on the front line, and they are all too happy to jump right on that Cassiopeia.
And you actually are wondering what's happening with Jensen being on the front line. There's a Trundle and a Gragas on that team. They need to be the front line. Impact teleported in, then they danced for 10 seconds. Jensen not on the same page as the rest of his team. Set up that play in a big way for Team Dignitas.
The poison gets it anyway. Shrimp smited, Keane picked it up, and it still died to poison.
The small victories for C9 on this one.
Take your victory lap.
At the end.
Getting a blue buff that might mean exactly nothing. 5,000 gold up for Team Dignitas, their second Baron. First one got them a 4 for 0 plus the middle inhibitor. That has since respawned.
And a lot of the big flashes were used in that last fight on the Maokai, the Alistar, and the Twitch. So with Baron, they don't have the same power of initiation. You're still expecting Team Dignitas to make a big push, but kind of like last game, this game is not over.
See if they can find a route on the front liner. The follow-up damage should be here soon. Hook's going to land on Syndra. No follow-through, they're not going to go for that just yet. Adrian holding the front line, saves the ulti, now pops it for the front, and they're going to knock down the Trundle. Impact is gone for the first. Nature's Grasp, who's it going to find? It's going to actually get onto Jensen, but no follow-through just yet. Hook's going to land now onto the Nunu. Does Sneaky have the damage? That seems unlikely as the turret falls, and a 5v4 with one of the frontliners dead means Dig can keep walking forwards. Now, will Cloud9 suffer more than their inhibitor, or does Dig back off after the mid lane? Do they go for the game-winning push? 30 seconds till Trundle's back up, and looks like Dig are happy to walk away.
Wow. What a successful push right there. The gold lead was only 5,000 coming in there, but their team fight is just so powerful and confident right now.
And there's an Infernal Drake on the map for them to pick up as well. Cloud9 can't go to contest. They've been absolutely destroyed in team fight after team fight. And this is only going to add more power to Team Dignitas trying to end this one out.
do have to wonder what's happening with C9's morale right now, because if we think back to the start of this game, they were in control. They had 3 winning lanes, and they had the Drake advantage. They lose that first Baron. Jensen then is frontlining on the second Baron, and now Impact kind of caught out and abandoned by his team at the start of this one. Things are falling apart in this game for C9.
Definitely huge advantages for Team Dignitas, and a lot of it revolving around that team play. It has been the story once again. Ssumday almost approaching Flame Horizon here, you know, with Impact getting a giant CS lead, but it's all about the team fighting of this front line. You know, almost at no point in this game have we been looking at Keane or Altec and saying, oh, you know, they're in a dangerous position, because they're always behind these 3 beefy members. Well, until the last team fight where Altec's able to flash forward after all the threats are gone.
He was behind his 3 beefy members.
But he makes sure that all the threats are gone first.
Look, only gets the Maokai. They're hoping for the play onto that rush. The stun not quite going to land. The sapling does, though, but blocked by the relic shield. Another hook's going to look and not going to find that one yet either. Dignitas going to keep their siege going. Static shift clears the minions. But still, patience is the name of the game. Mid and bot will shove into supers. All they have to do is be
Baron. The patience is big right here, because you're pretty much just waiting for C9 to back off, and then the turret will be granted to you based on having no defenders there. They don't even need to wait for the minion wave.
Yep, they can just backdoor at Ssumday. Pretty much will not take damage. He can heal up the minions when he wants to. So can Shrimp, and yep. Ssumday loses, no longer any of his health. Backdoor going to tire turret. Who needs minions?
Spirit Visage, empowered passive heal.
All right, final fight maybe. Contractz trying to flank.
He's got behind him. He wants to get Altec in.
Can they get Altec? The body slam, but the shields are in. Impact staying alive. Absolute Zero buys some time. Big petrifying gaze, but doesn't mean much of anything. The health bar's not falling rapidly enough, but Altec does go down. 1 for 0. The re-engagement sneaky gets no kills off the road, which means that is down, but Adrian will fall. And the push in might just be enough. The flame coming across. Looking for the rest of the kills. Impact chasing down on a Shrimp. The shutdown through onto Keane. That's 4 straight kills, and Cloud9, just like last game, find a last-ditch defense in their base.
Flip the map, and it's almost in the exact same spot. The initiation from Contractz to get Altec into the fight, and then maybe the turret was on him as well, because he was just taking all this damage. A 4-kill fight for C9 off the back of Contractz' flank.
Yeah, I was going to say that it would even be hard to target Altec once he got knocked into the middle, because there were so many large character models around him, but I'd have to look at a slow-mo of the replay to see who was actually focusing him down, because I think Jensen was able to power him through. You see there's a delay in damage, you know. Contractz gets him in, there's a big shield on him, and you're like, okay, he's standing literally under the model of the Maokai. Then he gets knocked up again there, and they're able to find the rest of the damage. Smoothie and Jensen both able to get that DPS through on him to take him out. And as soon as he goes down, you know, the team fight crumbles for this team, and Cloud9 are able to finish up a very big defense for themselves. But it feels, like you're saying, very similar to last game where, yes, it's a huge victory for them, but it only buys them time and another opportunity rather than actually getting them any sort of power in this game.
Yeah, that formula for team fights, though, is definitely something they're going to try and repeat. The front to back where they're 5v5ing has been defeated, but putting more effort into getting those flanks could end up paying dividends if they can do that one more time.
And to me, it doesn't matter how much effort you're going to put in if you don't have flashes, and now Altec does have his flash.
Yep.
I mean, you got to put in a lot of effort to outplay that summoner spell.
The disengaged explosive cast. Contractz very afraid of Ssumday's follow-up.
Yeah, and 3rd Baron of the game coming up in 20 seconds. Tons of wards for Team Dignitas. Control ward on the Baron pit. Still 2 down inhibitors for C9, so a lot for Dig to play around here.
They've had a lot of success baiting around the Baron and then turning to pick off members of Cloud9 in both games.
Yeah.
So they're not deviating from that strategy. Now they burn it down.
It's burning down so fast.
The team started the fight that's been making it happen so far. Adrian frontline hook on the other tank. Going to disengage on Baron for now.
It's the same play.
Back and forth, but Adrian's so low, the poison's on. He won't quite burn down, pops a bit more health back, but look at Altec on the wings. He's going to go for sneaky, the flash forward. He takes out the backline. They're going to pull back Contractz, but now it's a 5v4. There's just no support left for Impact. He's going to fall to Keane.
Altec thinks they're going down mid lane back to home, and he's on the hunt.
He's going to hit a ward. But that's still 2 kills picked up, and the Baron falls as well. Team Dignitas in the complete driver's seat.
But Dignitas runs the exact same play twice in a row, and it still works. Jensen's in the same spot. Sneak is in the same spot. So when Altec reveals, he shreds through both of them.
Again, Altec flashing forward on this switch, gets the DPS down, gets Dignitas. The game 2 here within their sights.
Buffed up Supers, 10 seconds on Sneaky, 5v3 to defend. They knocked in Keane, they have the damage, not just yet though. Exhaust is on, doesn't matter. Stun comes across into 2. Contractz and Smoothie both to fall, and Jensen against the world is just not going to happen. The Nexus to fall, 2-0 Team Dignitas, 1 more to go.
First time this split, the Team Dignitas has won 2 games in a series against Cloud9, but they still need 1 more to clinch it.
It's almost kind of uncharted territory for Team Dignitas in the North American LCS. Making a push extremely deep into playoffs here, and that bottom lane that they've brought in.
Yeah.
Adrian's playmaking, Altec's team fighting, just a complete dynamic duo, and changed the entire way that this team is playing.
Yeah, and I don't want to sell Keane short in this game. We talk about when he performs, the team does well. For all the praise we're giving Altec for opening up in the right spots, Keane did 30,000 damage, Altec did 31,000 damage. So every time those fights were just layered with CC, Keane was getting all of his skill shots landed in a big way.
And Sneaky in that one, 10,000. A third of all the rest of the carries.
Yeah.
And
only outdamaged Thresh on his team, by the way. Everyone else did more than him.
And we're talking about the meta evolutions from these things. Both teams putting a pretty high priority on Twitch. Altec, for his credit in these team fights, was almost always shooting Sneaky from outside of Sneaky's auto attack range because of spray and pray. And it's the team play as well with the Baron control the Team Dignitas has displayed and the way they force fights around the pit. That was the game.
Yeah, and really incredible stuff. I mean, Cloud9, you think about it, they got priority pick on their bot laner, first pick the Kalista. They got priority pick on the support as well. They grabbed the Thresh first, and Team Dignitas says, okay, there's your matchup. Well, here's ours. They don't win the laning phase, but they rotate out and have the rest of that happen, and then team fights happen. And this is the game where Cloud9 had the early lead. 3 winning lanes, CS leads in literally all the roles, and then they get a couple of good Baron plays, and then up goes the Dignitas gold.
Yeah, you have to wonder, now that you're kind of trying to reset to game 3, how much momentum and confidence to just give Team Dignitas versus how tilted could Cloud9 be? The 2 collapses they had on Baron, when Jensen is in front of his tank line and exposed towards the Twitch, that can't happen twice in the same game and get away with it.
Well, we'll see if the mistakes are fixed for Cloud9 or if Team Dignitas can sweep it. For now, we're going to check in with our analysts and see what they make of this Dignitas 2-0 lead.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. 2-0 lead for Dignitas. I'll tell you one thing, these guys didn't predict it, so they're at least catching us off guard so far today.
Yeah, I'm actually, like, when I was talking to you guys ahead of time, where it's like, my head was saying, based on analysis, that Cloud9 is going to win. But I actually really want Dignitas to win, because I think the bottom lane is just so good. And when they came in, we don't have enough of a sample size to really kind of place where they were. I put them as my number 3 all-pro team, as both Altec and Adrian, because I was like, these guys are really damn good, but they're showing it today that they are
so
even
good
better.
that Jatt invented a word for Altec in snooting.
Snooting.
He's snooting around on that Twitch. I like it. Sneaky shooting.
It sounded right. Yeah, and they talked about the Twitch priority in this series. And it's funny because this Twitch, it's one of those memes where it's their Twitch versus our Twitch.
Right.
Which one does more damage? I really like the build out of Altec here as opposed to the one from Sneaky, because Sneaky went for 2 attack speed items first, whereas Altec was able to get Runan's Hurricane into Infinity Edge, which helps him bridge the mid game, have a mid game team fight with critical strike chance that's multiplied, where he can use that spray and pray and get just a gigantic team fight.
The other thing working really well for Dignitas is Shrimp, just because in this game, or game 1, he kind of destroyed that game. And this time, Contractz did make a couple plays around the bot and mid lane, but he stabilized from there, and then they had another one of those kind of critical dig Barons later on. And that's the huge thing, is that we were talking about maybe Contractz being a little bit of an issue, but for the most part, Shrimp's holding up great.
Yeah, and when I look at this team composition that was drafted from Dignitas, I'm like, what lane is supposed to win here? Especially in that mid lane, which, could win, but Jensen won it himself.
Right.
And I'm like, Nunu with losing lanes is awful. So I'm like, you have no bridge champion for your mid game. How are you going to do it? And it came down to the Twitch, and it came down to the Dignitas Baron play. It didn't come down to a champion. It came down to the play that they made.
Exactly. So let's dive into that play. 22 minutes in, Dignitas comeback Baron again. It's important to note that C9 did clean up their early game a bit and was moving into the mid game with a lead.
And just watch how hard Dig forces around this choke point. The double knockback there into the double double pulverize. They do such a good job controlling that choke point, buying enough time for their backline to get the Baron down low, and then it forces C9 to get into a little bit of a frenzy where they just run in one at a time as opposed to walking in as a ball. And they're able to finish off the Baron, and then because they were forced into this annoying situation with all that crowd control, they slowly get picked off one at a time. Thresh dies, then Contractz, and then they're going to get sneaky here on the tail end of this as well.
Yeah, and you literally asked me last game about like what does Dignitas do, and I'm like, they're the best team around Baron right now, and teams lose around Baron all the time in terms of setup. Impact tunneled on shoving a side wave with no teleport, and that signaled that they should go for it.
Exactly, and then when it actually does come down to those risky situations, a lot of teams might not keep them pinned up in that choke point as well, and that's the thing. Where if they get through that, that's a disaster. Dignitas gets exploded in the back of the Baron pit, C9 gets it, and it's a free game from there.
Yeah.
It's that execution.
So it's not even like just the decision making around when to do Baron, it's how to approach it and what everybody is doing during those Baron fights, because it's not just like, oh, we made the right macro call. They always seem to execute appropriately and know everybody's job in those situations.
And I think the point about the setup is so massive because we even saw, once again, another comeback fight from C9. So we see those glimpses of brilliance where this C9 squad does succeed in team fight-centric games. And this is that kind of, you know, that glimpse of brilliance we're talking about. But Dignitas did such a good job in terms of building a lead here. They had the cushion to lose this fight and come back and still take the game.
Yeah, hard for Altec to keep up those DPM numbers when that's the team fight that you have to take part of. Just gets Wombo combo down, Gragas knocks him into a Cassio into that, and then here, a little bit of a situation where, yes, they get all the kills, but they're still so far behind in game circumstances.
I really dislike the last part of that fight with the Thresh flash flay and the Kalista flash forward, because Baron is up in 1 minute and 50 seconds. The carries of Dignitas did not use their flashes, and you just blew 2 in your bottom lane when you didn't have to do that, and you just regained control and time there. So, like, when you're fighting and blowing flashes that late in the game, you have to think, what are we getting away from this, right? Because they're not getting a Baron to restabilize the entire game. They're just getting time to clear their base before another Baron fight happens.
Right, let's go ahead and roll into that final team fight where Altec does some snooting around to win the game here for Team Dignitas.
His target's sneaky because he saw him blow flash at the end of the last fight, and he has flash advantage.
And this is the exact same place that Altec camped out in another previous fight. This time, C9 is not as conscious of him being there, and he's able to get that angle, like you said, onto the backline, just obliterates them, and then it's easy for C9's front line to charge forward. And this is something that you just have to give a lot of credit to Altec, just being so patient with that Twitch and knowing his windows perfectly. The last time it happened, C9 was very, very cautious about it and avoided getting blown up. But this time, with the game kind of getting out of control, they feel more pressured.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
I was going to say Twitch ban is probably something that C9 need to start going for, because I was not convinced by Sneaky's Twitch at all. His build, his positioning, the way that he wasn't snooting around the fights like Altec was. But Altec just seems like it's a kind of a step above, or even 2 cuts above, I would say.
To be fair to Sneaky, he was playing Twitch in a losing game, and it's one of those situations where you are not nearly as well positioned with your vision control and knowing exactly where to go snooting around. So it's a little bit harder to execute a Twitch from behind. But that said, I do think Altec played it much better, and if you're not confident in taking it early in this next game, yes, the ban is very necessary.
All right, so C9 is back to red side here for the 3rd game. This could be a match decider for Dignitas if they come away with the victory, but that's why I want to, again, hyper-focus here on Cloud9 and what they have to adjust outside of that Twitch ban, perhaps, in order to extend this game, or series rather, to a 4th game.
Maokai is a potential thing to look at, just because I don't think it's dominating laning phase, but you look at some of these Baron forces, and like Jensen was slightly out of position once, went for a Q on the Maokai, who instantly flashed W's and kills him. And it's these kinds of plays that Ssumday is so good at forcing and setting his team up that maybe you force him off that just to get a little mix up.
Yeah,
I mean, do you take them? Yeah, I was about to say, do you take the Maokai away, or do you even risk it being first rotationed by Dignitas now here back on blue side? Because Impact is very good at this champion as well, just as good as Ssumday in terms of engages on that champion.
Yeah, it's the risk of, do you think that they're actually going to first pick that or first pick something else? So I honestly feel like, if you want to be safe, you ban it, but otherwise you leave it up and you try to get it yourself, because I feel like C9 having it would also be good for them, because right now Impact's been like winning the matchups, but they're not winning the game because Ssumday has something that he can lose the matchup and then still have Impact in the game.
All right, well, it's do or die for Cloud9, and his team Dignitas are at match point, so don't go anywhere, because Game 3 is up next after the break.